Hello and welcome to this XLH video on the XLR function. In this video I'm going to show you how the OR function works, and I'm going to provide you with a couple of examples. So let's get started. The OR function is one of Excel's logical functions, and it performs what is known as a Boolean logic operation. Don't worry if you don't know what Boolean logic is. We're going to take a look at that in this video. The OR function can evaluate and return one of two results, either true or false. The syntax for the OR function is a series of parameters which are logical arguments. These logical arguments can evaluate to true or false. The OR function only requires one parameter, but it isn't really much use without at least two. For the purpose of explaining how the OR function works in this video, we're going to use two parameters. As you can see here, the OR function has two parameters. Logical 1 is required, logical 2 is optional. The OR function can have anything up to 255 parameters, so if we wanted to, it could look something like this, with three parameters. Seeing logical 2 and logical 3 here are not required. However, for the purpose of this video, we're going to use two parameters. Now how the OR function works is each one of the arguments in parameter 1 and parameter 2, logical 1 is known here and logical 2, can evaluate to true or false. And what the OR function does is, if both logical 1 and logical 2 evaluate to false, then the OR function evaluates to false. However, if either logical 1 or logical 2 evaluates to true, then the OR function evaluates to true. And if both logical 1 and logical 2 evaluates to true, then again the OR function evaluates to true. But what does this really mean? Let's just take a look at this on a actual spreadsheet. Okay, let's take a look at that table in this worksheet here. You'll notice we've got three columns. Column A is identified as logical 1, column B is identified as logical 2, and column C is identified as evaluates. And what we've got here is the four possible combinations of having two parameters on the OR function. So we're going to type in column C a formula that's going to evaluate column A and column B. So here we go. Equals OR, and the first parameter will be A2 and the second parameter will be A3. And you'll see there that when we've got false for logical 1 and false for logical 2, it evaluates to false. So now let's take a look at the rest of these options here. I'm just going to flash fill this. Okay, here you go. Now you can see here, logical 1 is false, logical 2 is true, so the whole thing evaluates to true. Logical 1 here on the third example is true, logical 2 is false, again it evaluates to true. The OR function evaluates to true. And the final option, logical 1 is true, logical 2 is true, so the OR function evaluates to true. And this is identical to the table that we saw earlier. Now this doesn't really explain things very well, so it might be better if we actually use a more real-world example. And we're going to use an example here that I prepared earlier. Okay, in this worksheet here, we have a fairly straightforward example. We're going to use the OR function in a formula to test to see if the word orange either appears in column A or column B on the same row. Column A is going to be logical 1, the first parameter of our OR function. Column B is going to be logical 2, which is going to be the second parameter of our OR function. And column C is going to be the result of the formula, or rather what the formula evaluates to. So let's type in our formula here. So it's going to be in cell C2, and it's going to be equals or open brackets A2 equals orange, B2 equals orange. Now before I click enter, let's just recap on what I've done. Parameter 1 or logical 1 is testing to see if column A equals the text orange, and parameter 2 is testing to see if column B, B2 in this instance, equals the text orange. If either one or both of those equal the word orange, it's going to return true. I've just noticed a little error there. I'll just correct that. So hit enter, and it correctly evaluates the false, because neither column A or column B has the text orange. Now if we just copy this down to the next row, as you can see, it evaluates to true, and that is column B has the word orange, and the OR function will evaluate to true if any of its parameters evaluate to true. So let's just do the other two rows. As you can see, the other two rows both evaluate to true. So for the third example, column A has the word orange, and for the fourth example, both column A and column B has the word orange. So let's now take a close look at a more real-world example. In this worksheet here, we want to say pay commission to either salesperson or manager. And we're going to calculate this in column F here where it says commission. And we're going to use a formula which on the face of it looks quite complex, but actually it isn't that difficult. So let's just take a look at the formula first. Okay, here we have the formula. As you'll see, there's two functions in this formula, the if function and the OR function. We're going to look at the OR function first. The OR function makes up the first parameter of the if function, which is a logical test. The OR function has two logical parameters itself, two arguments, as we've mentioned previously, logical 1 and logical 2. And basically, both these parameters are testing to see if the value in column B equals salesperson or manager. If either one of these is true, then the OR function returns true. Now, if in the if function, under the logical test, if the logical test returns true, then it performs the operation defined in the value if true area here. In this instance, it multiplies D5 by the absolute reference of B1. B1 is the sales commission, and column D is the sales made by that person. And if the logical test returns false, so the employee's role equals neither salesperson or manager, and therefore returning false, the value is false for the if function is 0. So let's type that into our spreadsheet and see what happens. Okay, here we are back at the spreadsheet. Let's type the formula in that we've just seen into column F. First one goes into cell F5, so here we go. So equals if open brackets or open brackets. Now the first parameter, we want to test the value of B5, so B5 equals salesperson, and the second parameter is testing to see if it equals manager, so B5 equals manager. Now it's time to finish off the if function, so the value if the OR function returns true, and what we want to do is multiply the sales in column D, so in this instance D5 by the rate of commission. So we want to make the rate of commission an absolute reference here in cell B1, so B1, and then the value if false, which returns 0. Click enter, and there you go. The first role here, employee name is Lee, role is admin, and therefore it correctly turns 0. Now if we just flash fill the rest, you can see salesperson, yes, manager, yes, he gets paid commission, admin again, poor old admin doesn't get paid any commission, salesperson gets paid commission, manager gets paid commission, again, poor old admin doesn't get paid any commission. But our formula seems to be working here. Okay guys, I hope you found this video useful. If you did, please subscribe. Also pop across to my website for more tips and hints on Excel, and don't forget to sign up to my newsletter. Thanks a lot. Bye.